So we prayed already, and we're looking at the Gospel in the Stars, and we're going through this. Psalms 19:1 is the springboard verse, like we said. I'm sorry, I'm like starting over here because I forgot to record, you know. The heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament showeth its handiwork, day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech, no language, where their voice is not heard. Like I said, it's universal, it's all over the world. From China to Mexico, everybody's seeing the gospel in the stars. Their line has gone out through all the earth, their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. And that's the ecliptic. You can see that all of these constellations going through their motions in the sky through the ecliptic of the sun, and which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. And you got Orion, you got what's his name, Perseus, you got Pegasus, you got the Centaur, you got all of these guys, and rejoices as a strong man to run a race. And all of those pictures of all those so-called when you hear about Orion and Hercules and all of those things, they're talking about Jesus Christ. So it's all been corrupted, it's all been convoluted, and from Genesis 3:15, we get everything you see is convoluted in every culture, and they did that to the gospel in the stars, and they did it today. They're doing it to the written word of God, you know. So and his going forth is from the end of heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of the earth. There is nothing hid from the heat thereof. And it goes on to talk about the law, and it's all connected. You know, these aren't two separate psalms here. These psalms are connected. It's 14 verses, and they're all talking about the same thing because it's God's law. That's what's in the stars too. You know, it's God's law. And I want to turn this thing off. Turn off video. There we go. Unless I got to start showing some pictures or something. I don't know. So maybe we'll see what happens there. So like I said, everything from the beginning, the first prophecy in the Bible, Genesis 3:15. I'm trying not to pounce because I was listening to the recording last week, and you hear a lot of pounding, pouncing, bouncing, and that's me hitting the buttons over here. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, speaking to the serpent, and between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, which means he's going to crush and kill you, and thou shalt bruise his heel, which means he's going to get on the cross and die and resurrect, and that's just a bruising of the heel. That's not a crushing death, which is going to happen to him eventually, the Satan. It was something I was reading in Cease's book that struck me. It was one of the last things I was just reading, and it talks about about some people thinking that this is not true, you know. And this book, like I said, there's a lot of books that are recommended to read, and I'll say them real quick here. We got God's Voice in the Stars. It's Zodiac Signs and Bible Truth, and that's by Kenneth Fleming, Fleming. All right, that's a nice little one. And then you got a little pamphlet type book. It's called The Gospel in the Stars, the Bible and the Zodiac, and that's by Dwayne Edward Spencer, Spencer. You should be familiar with all of these books here. And then you got The Witness of the Stars. That's by E.W. Bullinger, Bullinger. That's a good book. And this, The Gospel in the Stars, also is another title, and it's by Seiss, Seiss. I think his first name is Joseph. Yeah, Joseph Seiss, Seiss. And he goes back to the 1800s, so he's 1882. And which one was I going to? Oh, and of course, my favorite, this one here. It seems that all these other books that I just mentioned they all read this one, and this is just called Mazzaroth, Mazzarroth, and it's by this woman here, Frances Rolleston, Rolleston, and she's got everything in there, man, from soup to nuts, everything about the stars and the prophecy, and it's a great book. It's a lot of good stuff in there. But this one here, at the end of Libra, Cease starts talking, does a little commentary or something. He says, I have heard intimated that this is all speculation. So he's talking about the gospel and the stars and what people say about it. It's all fooey hooey. It may suit some to dismiss it in that way, but will those who think it nothing but speculation tell us then what is not speculation? So everything that these people talk about is speculation. And if this is speculation, then what is not speculation? Is basically what he's saying. The French savants, whom many reverence as the high priests of reason over against all credulity and superstition, take it as solid enough to build on it an argument against Christianity. Why then is it not solid enough to build on it an argument for Christianity? So you have this gospel and this stuff, and the people are trying to use it against Christianity. So why can't we just use it for Christianity? Some think it's speculation to hold for truth that there is a personal God, that the Bible contains a revelation from him, that man has a soul to live beyond death, that there is to be a future judgment, that the earth is a globe in motion, ever rolling around the sun, or that Jesus Christ is the appointed and only Savior of fallen man. Are we therefore to put all these things from us as empty dreams? Believing the Bible, we believe that God from the beginning promised a divine seed of the woman to bruise Satan's head, and through suffering and death to bring in everlasting redemption for man, that he has come as the son of a virgin, born at Bethlehem, crucified on Calvary, buried in Joseph's tomb, resurrected the third day, opening the kingdom of heaven to all believers. Dare we for an instant allow that this is mere speculation? And if what we read in the book of God is not speculation, can it be mere speculation when we find it written with the same clearness on the stars? It is not above a child's capacity to judge whether the story thus told by the constellations answers to the story of the gospel or not. And seeing the correspondence, are we not to conclude that the one is the prophetic foretelling and anticipation of the other? If not, I am at a loss to know what, in all the rounds of human belief or unbelief, is not mere speculation. No. The story of the cross is Christ. The story of the cross of Christ is true, and the word on the heavens unites with the word in the book to assure us of the certainty of our faith. So that was a little ditty he put in the back of one of the pages here under the constellations. And he's got a lot of good stuff in here too. I mean, I've been reading these books through, and he goes on in the back here. We'll get to Libra in a second, but there was some stuff here that he was talking about, and he paints a good picture, of Adam and Seth and Enoch, and even up to Noah. Because Adam didn't meet Noah, but Adam met Lamech, Noah's father. So right before Noah was born, maybe about 100 years before Noah was born, Adam died. So he knew all of these guys, from Adam to Lamech. And you can see them all hanging out, and maybe laying down in the field and looking up at the stars, and Adam was teaching them. He was the first sinner, but God didn't shun him. God still taught him his truth, and he passed it down, and they all talked about it. And this is also in Cease's book here. I don't want to get too crazy reading stuff, but because I can read so many things, but there was something, I think this was it. Hold on a second. Let me see. I wrote something down that I wanted. Page 138. Let me do 138, and then I'll come back to this on 157. So, I mean, if you got this book and you want to follow along, fine. You know, it's The Gospel in the Stars by Joseph Cease, and page 138. And after he finishes up the whole 12 constellations and all the decans at the end of the book, he says, and when the serpent thus falls, the circle of time is complete, and it is eternity. There is no continuity of the way of time beyond the victorious triumph of Judah's lion. Death and hell and all the wild beasts with all their children and the old serpent, their father with them, thenceforward have their place in the everlasting prison, burning with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And outside of that dread place there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Then the great voices in heaven sing, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God, for they shall inherit all things. And that's in Revelation 21. That's not the King James version, but you know, we still get the gist of it, you know. And that's a blessed consummation. How should we look and long and pray for it, as Jesus has directed, where he tells us to say, Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well might one of England's greatest poets cry, Come forth out of thy royal chambers, O Prince of all kings of the earth, put on the visible robes of thy imperial majesty, take up the unlimited scepter which thy almighty Father has bequeathed unto thee. For now the voice of thy bride calls thee, and we know who the bride is, that's us, that's the church, and all creatures sigh to be renewed. How cheering the hope amidst the clash of conflicting beliefs, the strife of words, the din of war, the shouts of false joy, the yells of idolatry, the sneers of unbelief, the agonies of a dying race, and the groans of a whole creation travailing in pain together in consequence of the serpent's malignity, that a period is coming when eternal death shall be that serpent's portion, when peace and order and heavenliness shall stretch their bright wings over the happy sons of men. When rivers of joy proceeding from the throne of God and of the Lamb shall water all this vale of tears. When cherubim to cherubim shall cry, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. When myriads of myriads and thousands of angels round about the throne shall join in the acclaim of Worthy is the Lamb which has been slain to receive the power and riches and wisdom and might and honor and glory and blessing. And when every creature which is in heaven and on earth and under the earth and upon all the sea and all things in them shall sing, to him that sitteth upon the throne and the Lamb be the blessing and the honor and the glory and the dominion for the ages of ages. Yet such is our hope given us as an anchor for our souls, both sure and steadfast, entering into that within the veil, and linking us even now to those solid shores of the world to come. We have in it the written word of prophets and apostles, and the same is certified to us by these everlasting stars in their ceaseless journeyings around the pathway of the circling year. God be thanked for such a hope. God be thanked for the full and wide-sounding testimony to its certainty. God be thanked that it has come to us, and that ours is the privilege of taking it to our souls in the confidence and comfort that it shall be fulfilled. I mean, these guys, they talked about it, they wrote about it. Adam wrote stuff down. Seth wrote stuff down. Enoch wrote stuff down, and Moses read from their writings. Uh, uh, the apostles, Paul and Peter, Jude, they all read from these writings and they knew about them. So this is as old as man himself, because the gospel in the stars was taught to Adam by God. So you can't get any better than that. And there's some words that we got to understand when we're looking at this particular Libra. Let me see. I got so many words down here. I didn't go crazy with all of them, but Libra basically is comes after Virgo. We start the signs with Virgo, the Virgin, the Branch, the Seed, and the three constellations after that. Coma is one decan. That's the desire, the infant held by the woman, and you can see that sitting in the stars. That's the Seed, and the Centaur is another decan in Virgo, and that's the Messiah offering himself as a sacrifice. And Boots, we talked about Boots a lot last week, and that's the coming of the Branch. That's the guardian of the flock. That's the shepherd, and he's also the harvester, or also known as the Grim Reaper. So he's doing all of that, and we covered that last week. And this Libra is the suffering redeemer, and we got to get into redeemed. We got to get into buying and the scales and weighing and the balance and all of that stuff. This is Libra. The scales of purchase, redeeming, the ransom. He put up his life as a ransom, and the blood of Christ is the price which covers. And you can look at some of these the names of some of these stars. There are three of them in Libra, and one of them is called where is it? Al-Ganubi, Gnubi, and this is the price which is deficient. So that's us. And then you got Al-Chamali, Chemali, and that's the price which covers. That's what that means. And then you got Zubin Akrabi, Akrabi, and that's the price of the conflict. So you got the deficient price and the price that covers, because we're deficient with sin, and we can't do it ourselves. So he's got to be the ransom. He's got to be the redeemer. He's got to pay the price for us, and he bought us too. And we'll see some verses on him buying us, and then the price of the conflict, which is his death on the cross. And let me see this. Trying to get some verses here. I just have, this is ransom, redemption. But I want to get, what's this other word here? Holding on, 03976. That's the Mosen, and that's the balances. 40, Isaiah 40. Okay. And actually, what this Mosen is a pair of balances or scales, and you'll see this word in the scripture in Isaiah 40 and 12. If I got it up here somewhere, maybe hold on a second. Here it is, 40 and 12. Okay, we'll put this in context, because I think the whole thing. Let me see. Comfort ye, Isaiah 41, comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and every crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And this is what they did literally when they were coming back to Jerusalem. The roads had to be fixed. The roads had to be prepared for the coming of the Lord. So when they had to go to Jerusalem, they had to go through these roads, and they were kept in pretty good shape. So all these thousands, millions of people can come back to Jerusalem. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. The voice said, Cry. And he said, What shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the godliness thereof is as the flower of the field. And that's not saying much, because the grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. O Zion, that bringest good tidings, get thee up into the high mountain. O Jerusalem, that bringeth good tidings, lift up thy voice with strength. Lift it up, be not afraid. Say unto the cities of Judah, Behold your God. Behold, the Lord the Lord God will come with a strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm, and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. Who hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out the heaven with the span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? And we know who that is. And you got some words in here. We got measured is modad, which means to measure or to mete out. Modad, and the hollow of his hands, he meted out. The span, complicated dust. The measure, another measure here is shalish. Captain Lord, no, that's not the one. Wade is shakal, is a good word. Shakal, weigh, pay, to weigh out, to pay out. The mountains and the scales and the hills and the balance. But this word here, balance, this is one of the names for balance, and this is the sign of Libra is known by this name. Mozain or Moznaim is how it is in the plural, but Mozain is the balances or the scales and the balances, and that's do I have that up here? TWOT 58. I don't, but it's a short one here. Always occurring in the dual. Mozaim indicates a pair of scales. Scales were used to weigh silver at a purchase. Jeremiah 32:10. And I subscribed the evidence and sealed it, and took witnesses and weighed him the money in the balances. That's Jeremiah 32:10 when he was buying the field. Let me see if I got this somewhere else. Hold on a second. 58. TWOT 58. There it is. I like this verse here too, Daniel 5. Okay, scales, accurate scales will God's delight. So if they're not accurate, better look out. Leviticus 19:36. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. In Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. And the prophets condemned cheating merchants. So you got some cheating merchants here, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. So that's all they were doing. They couldn't wait to cheat somebody, put their finger on the scale. Sometimes with the scales, with the balances, they would have crude balances, but when you're weighing something, you put something on one side and something on the other side, and they balance out. So you got the right. Well, what they did, say they got a 6-inch stick, they would put 3.5 inches of it on one side and 2.5 on the other side. If that adds up to 6, I'm good. If not, I got to learn math. Anyway, so you would put something on the scale. You would what you were buying, you would put on the scale on the long side, and it would take more money to balance that out than what it's worth. So they would do little things like that. Talking about putting your thumb on the scale. And Micah 6:11, shall I count them pure with the wicked balances and with the bag full of deceitful weights? Job wanted his case weighed by God. Job 31:6. I got it over here. What am I doing? Job 31:6. Let me be weighed in an even balance, a mosaic, that God may know mine integrity. Okay? God is able to weigh the hills on the balances. We just read in Isaiah 40:12 and Isaiah 40:15. 40:15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. The balances of antiquity were a simple bar suspended at the middle with pans on each end. And you can see a picture of that if you look somewhere else. All right, the weights are called abanim, stones. That's eben. What's the number? Eben, stone. For the weights, 138. No, 183 probably. Hold on a second. I know it's got a 3 and an 8 in it. 183. Nope. Okay, forget about it. But there's an eben is the name, and it means stone, and they use the stones to balance. Being usually made of a stone shaped and ground, the chief opportunity for cheating lay in the weights used. So that's how they cheated. And this one here, it's Daniel 5:7, when he said, your weight in the balance, when he was talking to Belshazzar, he said, this is the handwriting on the wall. Let me see. Daniel 5:23, but has lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of this house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, thy concubines have drunk in the wine of them. And they're doing this with the golden stuff. And thou hast praised the gods of silver, gold, brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified? Then was a part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. Let me put this up here. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, mene, tekel, upsharin. And this is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, this is at the Aramaic of mene. And let's look at the Hebrew. It's menah. It means set or ordained or numbered. So you're numbered. God has numbered you, and thy kingdom is finished. Tekel is Aramaic, which means tekel, which means weighed, and the Hebrew is shakal, which is to weigh or to weigh out. All right. So thou art weighed in the balances. And here's the balance. It's the mosaic. That's the balance, and that's one time here. That's the Aramaic, and the Hebrew, of course, is the one we're looking at, the 3976, the mosaic. And azan means to give good heed. And how do you hear? You got two ears. That's the balance. When it says give good heed, it's saying listen with both ears. Balance it out. You got an ear on the left and an ear on the right. Or it comes from azan, which means to give ear, to hearken, to listen, to hear, perceived by the ear. And that's a good balance when it's going into the right and the left. You're hearing good, you know. And then Perez, this is divided when it talks about the earth was divided in Genesis, and the child's name was Perez. It means divided, and that's when I was looking up ethnology today, and a couple of other things I was looking up. It's called ethnology in McClintock and Strong. If you look up ethnology, it'll blow your mind. Ethnology. And also you look up division of the earth. That's in the D volume in McClintock and Strong. That'll blow your mind too. It shows you how all of these guys were split up, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and how they inhabited the earth, and what part of the earth they went through, and all that. And it's pretty interesting stuff. So that's ethnology, and also division of the earth, how the earth was divided. And this happened, like you see, like the Table of Nations is in Genesis 10, but you'll see the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11. They should be switched, because the earth was divided after the Tower of Babel. That's when the confusion of tongues came in. So when you're talking about this kid's name, Perez, and in his day, the earth was divided. Let me see if I can look at that real quick. I never thought of that until this guy mentioned it. But you can see a lot of different things, like we were talking about last week and a couple of weeks ago about the chronology, of the events of the creation. They'll say one thing, and they'll talk about how it happened, and then in subsequent chapters they'll say the same thing over again, like it never happened, but it all happened. So it's called, I'm trying to think of the word for that. I wrote it down here somewhere. It's transposition. It's when a subsequent chapter precedes a former one. So you'll have something in like I said, in Hebrews 10, talking about the earth being divided, and that didn't happen until Genesis 11, because Genesis 11 talks about the earth right now. In Genesis 11, the whole earth was one language and one speech. It's not divided. Everybody's the same, but then came the confusion and the division. All right. But then when you back it up to chapter 10, it talks about the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, and it goes on to talk about this guy here. Where was his name? Because the earth was divided. I'm trying to look for it, but you know what I'm talking about. It's called transposition, where something, a subsequent chapter or a later chapter actually precedes a former chapter. You'll see something in verse 10, in chapter 10, that didn't happen until after chapter 11. Basically what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so let's get back to this here. That are weighed in the balance. The kingdom is divided and given unto the Medes and the Persians. So that's basically balanced. I just wanted to get some of that in there to get it into the gray matter there, and see if it helps us. And there's a lot of stuff on balance. As you can see here, balances, wicked balances. What was I looking at with this one here? All right. And it's basically, okay, but that 40 and 12 is a good springboard verse for balances, Isaiah 40 and 12. If you want to look at balance. And basically these talk about the same things. Abraham, balance, he weighed out money to get the cave in Machpelah. And then the big balance here we got in Revelation 6:5, where it talks about the black horse. He says, and when he opened up the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld low a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. What's the Greek word for balance here? Hold on a second. Balances is 2218. Zugos. A pair of balances. Do I have that on my list? 2218. 2218, 2218. No, wow. How did I miss that? 2218. But this verse pops up throughout this whole study here. You'll see this. We'll probably look at this verse a bunch of times. But let me just look at this 2218 here. Hold on a second. Get another one of these up. I want to look at these balance verses in the New Testament. 218. Okay. All right. Yeah. It's called yoke here. Zugos is a yoke or a pair of balances. So it's used one time as a pair of balances, but mostly it's called for a yoke. And you know what a yoke is? It's something that goes around the neck, and half of it's on the right side and half of it's on the left side. So that's a balance. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Nevertheless, it's still a yoke. You know what I'm saying? It's not, we still got to go through what we got to go through. You know, the world's going to hate us. Everybody's going to be killing us literally, figuratively, and any other way they can. But there's going to be, but the yoke is lighter because we know that it's from the Lord. So that's the only thing that makes it lighter. It could be the same yoke that everybody else is carrying, but we know that where it's from, and that's why it's light. You know. Now therefore, why tempt ye God to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? And the yoke he's talking about there is the law. We can't follow the law. The law is leads to death. You know. So you got the law, you got the spirit of the law, and the letter of the law. The letter of the law kills. The spirit of the law brings to life. I got out of a ticket one day. I was driving, and the cop pulled me over, and he says, "You didn't wait for that stop sign." And you know, nobody waits for a stop sign. I mean, you don't come to a complete and full stop. Does anybody? You should. I mean, but the letter of the law. This is what I explained to the cop. I says, I may not have obeyed the letter of the law, but I obeyed the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law says, you come up to a stop sign, you look, you make sure nobody's coming, and you proceed with caution. But I didn't come to a complete stop, but I still obeyed the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. So the letter of the law is what was going to give me a ticket. The spirit of the law made sure that I wasn't going to get into an accident. You know what I'm saying? So when I told him that, guess what? He says, "Get out of here." He didn't write me a ticket. So I think I gave him a little, I preached to him a little bit about the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, and it helped me out. Okay, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Let as many servants as are under the yoke count their masters worthy of all honor, that the name of God and his doctrine be not blasphemed. And of course, we just read Revelation 6 and 5 about the balances in his hand. So I'll leave this up here in case I need it. Let me see. Balances. The rider on a black horse had a pair of balances with which to weigh out the food, showing the great scarcity. Will be one of God's judgments of the future. It's God's judgments all the time. It's not just the future judgment. It's God's judgment. He brings all of them. He brings the sword, the famine, the pestilence, and eventually the beast. So we looked at this. Kana is another one. Let me see if I got these other words here. Kana. Let me see if I got kana. Is this kana? That's shakal. Where's the shekels of silver, the current money? All right, let me find this kana. I know I got it somewhere. Kana. There's a couple of words for weigh and balance. That's shakal. Where's the kana? Balance. There it is. Kana. 7070. Is that on my list? That's, I got it down there somewhere. Oh, 7069 I got. 7069. Let me look at that one. Because this Mozaim, that's the one that's in Isaiah 40 and 12, and that's 3976. This is 70 and 7069. Let me look them up here. Hold on. 7070 and 7069. Stalk. Okay, that's talking about the stalk. 7069. And you can see how it has something to do with the stalk and the branches and stuff here too. Purchased. Yeah, this is to buy, to get, to purchase. Kana 7069. TWOT 2039. Let's look at that. Let me see. In Kana, we discern one root denoting the commercial, financial acquisition of movable goods, and another root denoting creation by God, bara. For the third root, see Kana, which is a reed, and in one sense, you could say it's a reed because Egypt was called a bruised reed, which means that it wasn't equal, it wasn't balanced, which is what they're trying to get at. When you see it used as a reed or a stalk or something like that. Let me see. Wisdom being quiet, and Leviticus 25, that verse with the and if a man purchased the Levites, then the house that was sold and the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee, for the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. And this, you're talking about in Leviticus 25, you're talking about the Jubilee and the 7 years, let them go free, and after 50 years, everybody, if we follow this today, if we follow Leviticus 25 today, there'll be no poverty. But we're not. We're evil, greedy, sensuous people. The verb kana is the usual word for buying something. Commercial transactions were accomplished in several ways. Especially interesting is the ancient custom involving the giving of one shoe. And you'll see that in Ruth 4, and when Boaz and the purchase. And you got some good words here also. You're talking about redeeming. The other word for redeeming is this kinsman word. I think it's 1350. Hold on a second. Here it is. 1350 is Ga'al, and we went through this a while back. And this is Ga'al, which is to redeem, a redeemer. And these are all words that we got to understand when we're looking at this constellation of Libra, because this is what it's all about. It's about Jesus redeeming, the suffering redeemer, the scales, the balance. He's purchasing, he's redeeming, he's paying the ransom, and that's with his blood. So there's so many different words, and I'm trying to cover them real quick. And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. But this redeem, redeemer, kinsman. It's the same word as Ga'al is the word. So we see the English words here, but this one, the only word we need to know is Ga'al, and that's what it is. It's Ga'al. So you can put all the other words out of your head and just keep the Ga'al, and you know what it means. Therefore, the Ga'al said unto Boaz, "Buy," and there's the word buy, Kana. They were all connected. Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe, and that was the contract they did. They would take off their shoe, and everybody would see, okay, he's taking off his shoe, he's buying Ruth, and that's that. because the near kinsman couldn't buy her. He wanted the land, but he didn't want her. So he says, "Nah, I don't want to mar my possession by having another wife. I can't have another wife, you know. So you take her." So Boaz did it, and this is the lineage of Christ here. Boaz and Ruth. Amos 8:6, that we may buy, that we may kana, the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of shoes, and sell the refuse and the wheat. That's that there. Through the purchases symbolizing forfeiture of the hereditary right of redemption. Transactions could either be recorded or otherwise publicly witnessed, as in Ruth 4. You know, and if somebody didn't want to buy his brother's, redeem his brother's wife or anything like that, he would be known as the man who got spit on, something like that. He would take off the shoe and spit in his face, and that was part of the contract. You know, let me see. Because sacrifices were to be offered for oneself, they must also come from one's own possessions. Therefore, when David sought to make a sacrifice to end the plague, he felt compelled to purchase the land. And this, I believe that was Onan, the Jebusite. He had the land. Aruna. And he says, Aruna wanted to give him the land. And he says, no, I'm not. I got to pay for it. There's got to be a sacrifice. In 2 Samuel 24:21, and Aruna, he was the guy that owned the field, the land. And this is the same land. It's mentioned several times in the scriptures, and this is where they built the first temple. And Araunah said, "Wherefore is my lord the king come to his servant?" And David said, "To buy the threshing floor of thee, to build an altar unto the Lord, that the plague may be stayed from the people." And this is the same spot where the future temple was. And Araunah said unto King David, "Let my lord the king take and offer up what seemeth good unto him. Behold, here be oxen for burnt sacrifice, and threshing instruments, and other instruments of the oxen for wood." And all these things did Araunah, as the king gave unto the king. And Araunah said unto the king, "The Lord thy God accept thee." And the king said unto Araunah, "Nay, but I will surely buy it of thee at a price. Neither will I offer burnt offerings unto the Lord my God of that which doth cost me nothing." So it's got to come with a sacrifice. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. Buy it for the, buy it. And there's the kana, to purchase. You got to purchase it. You got to buy it. Neither will I offer. What's this price here? Price is mekir. Price, worth. Price higher. Mekir. From an unused root meaning to buy. Oh, I missed that one. Oops, boy, forget about it. All right, we'll look that up some other time. All right, as king and perpetrator of the census, it was his responsibility to personally appease divine anger. Temple repairs were not paid for from the royal coffer, but from God's gifts, but from the gifts of God's people. So it had to be a sacrifice. Private ownership, sell, rent, everything belongs to God. So they didn't buy and sell the land; they only rented. Other nations were not so constituted. Hence, Abraham could purchase land from Ephron and became the perpetual possession of his family. So when the Israelites couldn't buy or sell the land. Was as it says, it was not theirs, it was God's. And then Pharaoh bought the land of Egypt. I want to get lost in all of this here. Hold on a second. The Redeemer. Hold on. Land lost due to poverty could be redeemed by a kinsman, or if the original owner prospered, he could redeem it. If no human redeemer was to be found, the land was redeemed by God himself on the 50th year. So it all belongs to God. So it's all his anyway. So if you're buying, selling, you're making profit off of something, in the 50th year, it goes back to the original owner. No greed, everybody's the same. And there were some good verses. This Psalm 74:2 is a good verse. Yeah, I was looking at this early. Let me put it up here. Remember thy congregation which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion, wherein thou hast dwelt. So that's a good verse about the purchase, which is the Kana, and the inheritance is the Nakala. We studied that a while back. The inheritance, possession, inheritance, so it's God's. It's all God's, which thou hast Gaal, redeemed. Gaal, this Mount Zion wherein thou hast dwelt. Very good verse. And Isaiah 11, is it 11:11? I think it's 1:11. Let me just see this real quick here. Hold on a second. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, Hamath. To recover the remnant. To recover. Kana. To buy, to purchase back. What was this other one I was looking at? Isaiah 1. Oh, it's 51:11. Hold on a second. Let me see 51:11 here. Hold on. Isaiah 51. It might be in there. Isaiah 51:11. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, the redeemed. That's another one. All right. That's why it's not there. Okay. The redeemed of the Lord shall return and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their head. They shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and mourning shall flee away. And this redeemed here is another one we got to look at. This is Pada. All right. So we'll put that down. I got it on my list here. I'm pretty sure. I mean, this is, yeah. Okay, so we got three for redeemed. We got the 1350, the Gaal, and we got this 6299 Pada, which is the redeem. Let me 6299. Get out of there. Oh boy, here we go. Let me do this. Hold on a second. 6299 and 6304. 6299 and 6304. 04. Yeah, division redemption. Okay, yeah. And this is Pada. Redeem, deliver, ransom, rescue. To ransom, redeem, rescue. And there's the three main words for redeem and redemption and rescue. And that's Pada, Gaal, and the other one, I forget, we just looked at it, Kana. Qanah, Kana. And redemption. Let's go back to the other one. We'll come back to this. I want to stay where we were here. All right, and this we're still doing Kana. All right. Is that Kana? Yeah, that's Kana. All right. Seagal. See, it says Seagal over here. Seagal. This explains why houses in walled cities could be sold into perpetuity. For example, they did not involve ancestral land rights. So anything that was passed down or God gave to you, you can't do anything with it. And that's in Leviticus 25, 29 to 34, talking about selling houses, redeeming, and all that stuff. I don't want to get into all of that right now. Because they were God's personal possessions, either because they were his allotment for his personal staff, the Levites, or because they were returned and holy to him, and why Levitical lands could never be sold at all. They were eternally redeemed. And it talks about slavery not being allowed, but you can have bond servants. And redeemed, redemption, okay. Kana appears. I don't want to get lost in all of this, but we got a good gist of the purchase possession, from this word and other words. And there's some good stuff in the New Testament about this TDNT3. Would probably be the Greek that we got to look at someday. But this 74, Psalm 74:2. Let me get some verses on that. There was some good stuff behind that. Psalm 74:2. So this is the first part of the, this is the main constellation of Libra, and what we're talking about, the balances and the scales and the weighing. And we have to look at these verses. Okay. 15, Exodus 15:16. Fear and dread shall fall upon them by the greatness of thine arm. They shall be as still as a stone till thy people pass over, O Lord, till thy people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Thou hast purchased. Kana. And there's the stone. It was 068. I thought there was a 3 in there somewhere. It's ebon stone. This is what they use to weigh things. Ebon, diverse weights, stones, and that's 068. All right, I was looking at that earlier. And Deuteronomy 9:29. Yet they are thy people and thine inheritance, which thou boughtest out by thy mighty power and by thy stretched out arm. And these words in here, you got the inheritance, that's the nakala, and you bought out, that's just a verb meaning out, or to bring forth, to go out, to come out, yatsa, by the mighty power of the stretched out arm. And Acts, is this one? Yeah, Acts 20:28. Take heed therefore unto yourselves and to all the flock over which the Holy Ghost hath made you overseers, to feed the church of God, which he hath purchased with his own blood. And that's one of the words here, purchased in the New Testament, 40:46. It's peripoiomai. Here we go. Purchase is peripoiomai, to purchase, to make, or to remain over, to preserve, and that's Acts 20:28. The purchase with his own blood. And 1 Timothy 3:13, for they that have used the office of a deacon well purchased to themselves a good decree and great boldness and faith which is in Christ Jesus. I had that down here, but I just had the one verse, Acts 20:28, which is for our purposes. And then there was some other words here, but let's go through these cross references here first. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen for his inheritance. He talks about his inheritance here. That's the Nakala. For the Lord hath chosen Jacob unto himself, and Israel for his peculiar treasure. And you can see that in Peter also. Psalms 135:4. Deuteronomy 4:20, but the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as you are this day. So you can see inheritance and purchase possession. It's all basically the same thought, For the Lord's, Deuteronomy 32:9, for the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. What's this portion here? The portion is kelek, portion or a part. All right, that's the purchase possession. There we go. Let me see. Isaiah 51:11. We just read. 62:12. And they shall call them the holy people, the redeemed, the Gaal of the Lord, and thou shalt be called sought out, a city not forsaken. And another one in the New Testament, Titus 2:14, speaking of Jesus, and this is the decan right here. You got the decan of Libra right here, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. And this word redeem here is lutruo, and you got a couple of these lutruos here, 3083, 3084. Let me look at this here. Hold on a second. 3083, 3084. I gotta get another one. I thought I had one up there. Hold on a second. 3083, 3084. But this is all Libra. All of this stuff is Libra. 3083, 3084. Okay. Here we go. Perfect verses for this constellation here. Matthew 20:28. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. That's the noun here. Ransom, the price for redeeming. Okay. And all the same thing in Mark 10:45. All right. And the apostles in Luke 24 were talking about Jesus. They thought, but we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. They were looking for the wrong type of redemption, but he did redeem them, but they didn't know it yet. And besides all this, today is the third day since these things were done, and they're speaking of Jesus, and they didn't know it at the time, but he did redeem them. And Titus 2:14, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. And 1 Peter 1:18 and also 19, let's put the whole thing up here. He says, for as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conversations received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and spot. And you have the right here, you got Libra, you got the scales, the balance, you got the cross, the crux, you got the lupus, the victim, and you got the, well, you don't have the crown here yet, but the crown is coming, 1 Peter 1:18 and 19. Let me see. There was another one here. Let me get back to this. Where was I? Nope. Okay. Yeah. And of course, Revelation 5:9. Stop it. And they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain. That's the lupus. That's the slain, Christ, the victim slain. For thou wast slain and has redeemed us. And there's another word for redeemed here. To God by thy blood, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. And this redeemed here is agorazo, another good word for redeem. Agorazo, 58 and 59. 58. That's the marketplace. When somebody has agoraphobia, they're afraid of going outside. They're afraid of the marketplace. That's agora, the markets. But 59 is buyeth. Buy it, he bought it. Buy themselves, bought and sold in the temple. Buy. To buy, the bridegroom came. They took counsel and bore with them the potter's field. Why does so bad together? Why bought in the temple? He bought fine linen. Saw that land. Bought. All right. I'm looking for the verse here. We probably just said it already, but here we go. 1 Corinthians 6:20. For you are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. And we know the price that we were bought with. And 1 Corinthians 7:23. You are bought with a price. Be not the servants of men. Lord that bought them. 2 Peter 2:1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So I guess he didn't buy them. Buy of me gold. Try to. Revelation 5:9 we read about 5 times already. Let me see. No man may buy or sell unless he has the mark. Revelation 14:4. These are they which were not defiled with woman, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goes. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And that's it. And there was another one. What was the other one here? Hold on a second. That's it. The holiest. Praise the Lord. Okay. This other one here. There's another word I wanted to get. Oh yeah, 30, 83, 84, and 85. We just went through that. Redemption that is in Jesus Christ. Romans 3:24. Being justified freely by his grace through redemption. The apolutrosis. It comes from the luo, and you just put the apo in front of it. That's redemption or deliverance. A releasing effected by payment of ransom, and that's what he did. He paid. Romans 8:23, and not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. And that adoption is probably that huiothesia. Adoption is, huiothesia. Comes from huios, which is son, and titheme, which means to place. So you to place sons, and that's what we are. We are the adoption, the huiothesia, and the redemption of our body. Redemption, Ephesians 1:7, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins according to the riches of his grace. And we're just pulling these out of context. I'm not reading the whole chapter or down to it or around it or anything. We're just pulling these verses out. And Ephesians 1, you can read that whole thing, but Ephesians 1:7 and 1:14 has this, which is the earnest of our inheritance until the redemption of the purchased possession unto the praise of his glory. You got 4 great words in there. You got the earnest, and this is actually a Hebrew word here, archabon, and this is an earnest. This is the, it's like a down payment that's put aside, like when, what's his name, Judah had sex with his daughter-in-law, and she says, what shall you give me something? And he gave her an earnest. He gave her the staff and the other thing and the bracelet, and that was the earnest. That was the pledge, and that's abaron, the pledge or security. What will you give me? And she said, you know, whose staff is this? Whose bracelet is it? He said, oh man, and that's mine. So when she was with child, so al-habon is a Greek word which comes from al-habon, which is a Hebrew word. So it's the same word, and that's the earnest, that's the pledge of our inheritance, kleronomia, beautiful words, the inheritance, kleros, property received, kleronomos comes from kleros, and which is a lot, a part, or an inheritance, and nomos is the law. So it's a part. You have a part in it, in the law. The inheritance, all these words, adoption, inheritance, redemption, apolutrosis, beautiful words, and the purchased possession, peripoiesis. We just looked at the peripoeomai, which is to purchase. With this peripoiesis is the purchased possession. 4047. Let me throw some of that up here. Hold on a second. 4047. 47. I wasn't going to go through all of these, but you got to look at these words in the Bible. You got to get definition, and it'll make you understand. It'll help you to understand these constellations and what it's talking about. Because this Liber is redeeming. It's purchasing, and which is 114. We read that. Obtain. Obtain. 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, peripoiesis, that should show forth the praise of him who hath called you out of darkness into his glorious light. So that was a quickie on peripoiesis there. Day of redemption, Colossians 1:14, in whom we have redemption. How? Through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. Hebrews 9:15, and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the First Testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. And we only get that through his blood, through the Redeemer. Okay. We said these, we saw that already. We saw this already. And Luke 1:68, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he has visited and redeemed his people. And this is when he was born, so he didn't even get to the cross yet, you know. And Luke 2:38, and she, coming in that instant, gave thanks likewise to the Lord, and spake of him to all them that looked for redemption in Jerusalem. So, you know, the gospel in the stars was preached, and this is what they're all looking for. They're looking for the redemption in Jerusalem. And Hebrews 9:12, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. And that's the crown there. So you got all the balance, the cross, the victim, and the crown, all in this this constellation here. We went through a lot of this here. Let me see the cross. Let's see if there's any more I gotta look up here. Hold on a second. Bear with me. I had a lot of stuff down here. I know we didn't touch that. The redeemed, redemption, the purchased possession. Okay. We got the gist of that one here. Let me close that out. And what else we got here? The balances we looked at. We looked at a lot of this already. Yeah, you are bought with a price. Let's see. We read 72, 74, and 2. Psalm Remember the congregation which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion, wherein thou hast dwelt. And then we got 1 Corinthians 6:20, for you are bought with a price. We must have read that 2 or 3 times already. Therefore, glorify God in your body and your spirit, which are God's. And then 1 Timothy 2:6, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time. Okay, that's the ransom. That is the 487. What's that? 487. Oh, anti-lutron. So this lutron has got so many things. You got apolutron, anti-lutron, eclutron, ransom. What is given in exchange for another as the price for his redemption, a ransom. Anti-lutron. Wow, I didn't even know that was there. So it's only one time in the Bible, ransom. Gave himself for an anti-lutron. For all we testified in due time. Okay. And there's the balances again. We got Psalm 62:9. Surely men of low degree are vanity, and men of high degree are a lie, to be laid in the balance. They are altogether vanity. Laid in the balance. The balance here. And that's Mosen. We're back to Mosen. That's the original word we were looking up. In the balance. And then Job 31:7. Let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. And I'm sure that's, I lost it. Weighed in an even balance. That's the Mosaine and the Shakal. Okay, close that out. See if I got anything else up here. I want to read something on the, wow. 49:7. None of them can by any means. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him. For the redemption of their soul is precious, and it ceases forever. 72:14. I got this down there. He shall redeem their soul from deceit and violence, and precious shall their blood be in his sight. 32:6. I think we read this already. Father that bought thee. Yeah, we read that. Deuteronomy 32:6. This one we didn't read here. This is Psalms 130:7. Let Israel hope in the Lord, for with the Lord there is mercy, and with him is plenteous redemption. 63:04. That's the okay. I don't know if we got to this yet. 63:04 and 62:99. Pada. Yeah, I remember mentioning that. All right, 62:04. 63:04. Yeah, I put that down there somewhere. Yeah. And let me see. There's a couple of other words here. Do I have it? The heavens declare the glory. We got these. Here it is. 60. Okay, we didn't get to this yet. This is pada. This is redeem. Basic meaning of the Hebrew root is to achieve the transfer of ownership from one to another through payment of a price or an equivalent substitute. The root occurs in Assyrian with the meaning of to spare. In the Ugaritic, it is used in the sense to ransom. The root with its derivatives occurs 69 times in the Old Testament. The semantic development of pada is one of great significance to Christian theology. Originally, it had to do with the payment of a required sum for the transfer of ownership, a commercial term. In Exodus 19:20, speak of the redemption of a slave girl for the purpose of marriage. It is also used to speak of the redemption of a man's life who was under the sentence of death, as in 1 Samuel 14:45, when Jonathan was redeemed by the people of Israel Israel. I mean, Saul wanted to kill him, and the people said, "You're crazy. You didn't kill him. He just saved us." So he was redeemed by the people. The word was given special religious significance by the Exodus when God delivered Israel from servitude into Egypt, and he did so at the price of the slaughter of the firstborn in Egypt, man and beast. So that was why they, let me see, that's when they spoke the firstborn, okay. Consequently, the event was to be perpetually commemorated in Israel by the consecration of the firstborn of man and beast to the Lord. So then thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beach which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. And sometimes they construed that into thinking they had to do sacrifices to Molech. That's not what he meant. Let me see, the cattle, the people, the firstborn. Yeah, the number of firstborn in excess of the number of the Levites were then redeemed at the price of 5 shekels apiece, and the money was given to Aaron and his sons. That's redemption. All right, let me see, redeemable. That which is holy to the Lord, the cow, the sheep, or the goat, was not to be redeemed. Similarly, anything or person devoted to the Lord, that's the harem, placed under ban and therefore unlawful for human approbation. And that's like the korban, when they said, "Oh, I can't give it to you, it's holy to the Lord." Well, then you're supposed to kill it, you know. That's haram, and also korban is placed under ban and therefore unlawful for human approbation, was most holy to the Lord, and was therefore unredeemable, and it had to be given as a sacrifice. The word used here for redeem is ga'al, which we just spent some time on, which is sometimes used synonymously with pada. The harem refers to the spoils of the war, as in the Battle of Jericho. I guess that's why you guys had a harem. The theme of redemption was not to be related merely to the firstborn of Israel. Israel itself was the firstborn of God. And he said it, Israel is my firstborn, and hath been redeemed by Yahweh. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God hath redeemed you. Israel had been delivered, ransomed from servitude in Egypt by the hand of God. The fact was to color Hebrew thought through the centuries to come. Israel even saw God's calling of Abraham from Ur as redemption. Isaiah 29:22. Therefore, thus say the Lord who redeemed Abraham concerning the house of Jacob. Jacob shall now be ashamed, shall not now be ashamed, neither shall his face now wax pale. 1 Peter 1:18. We read that already. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, but his blood. Let me see. Redeem Israel, oh God, out of all his trouble, life and danger. Well, this has to do with basically redemption. Oh God, I want to get to, let me see, redemption from sin. And interestingly enough, only once is para used in reference to redemption from sin. Let Israel hope in the Lord, for with the Lord there is mercy, with him is plenteous redemption. He shall redeem Israel from all his iniquities. And that's what we needed, this victim, this innocent victim, because of the law, which we sinned, we transgressed, and sin is transgression of the law, and the price is death for us, and we got to be redeemed, because we can't redeem ourselves. And the victim, the innocent victim, had to do it. This remains for the completed revelation of the new covenant. Unfortunately, this emphasis has become so dominant in Christian redemptive theology that there is a tendency to overlook the fact that the New Testament, as well as the Old Testament, sees redemption or salvation in terms of the total human situation. Even a cursory reading of Luke's Gospel will catch the reflection of the Old Testament heritage in the concept of salvation. But that's all pointing to Jesus anyway. So use of para and its derivatives is sometimes paralleled by other roots. And we looked at all of these roots, para, ga'al, and kofer also. Okay, then you got lutruo. We looked at lutron. There's a lot of stuff here. I don't want to read all of this. Oh my God, it's 8:18. Ooh. Precious blood. We read 1 Peter 1:18 and 19 a couple of times already. Petty ransom. Ransom. Okay. All right. So, and you can find this in the Theological Dictionary. In the bibliography, he says TDNT4. That's probably Lutron. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But TDNT4, pages 329 to 335, and you read all about ransom and redeeming, and that's what this this constellation is all about. And it's in here somewhere. Let me see. This is the Dendara. It's hard to see these things in here. Let's see. Trying to find out where it is here. There's the lion. There's Coma. And that one there. That's probably Virgo there. So this thing's got to be over here somewhere. It's Libra. It's got to be around here, but I can't make it out. That might be the no. That's not it. Like I said, it's hard to tell in there. The balances. Let's see what else we got here. Those are the two verses. All right. There was something else I had here. Hold on a second. Oh, there was a bunch of other words, but I think we're all like definitioned out over here. We got enough definitions to last us for a lifetime here. 2490. 2490. Began. This is beginning, profane, pollute, defile, break, wounded. Okay, probably looking at wounded here. All right, so it's not 2490. 2491. 2491 is slain. That's the word I'm looking for. Slain. All right. Kalal, slay, wounded, profane. So this would be one of the decans here. Slain, fatally wounded, pierced. Let me see. Slain. I should have looked at this earlier. I would have had a couple of verses here. I don't want to go through all of these here. Slain. 85 verses. Was there any that I pulled out of here? No, I didn't. Okay. Let's see. Was slain, wounded. Yeah. Slain. All right. Well, that's a word you can go through. So it's part of the decans is the wounding and the slaying. So that's Koal, 2491 in the Hebrew. And there's another one here I got written down is 1856. I guess we're going to do crazy with all these definitions for now, and then maybe next week we'll run into more of this stuff here. And this is Dakar is thrust through or pierced or wounded or stricken through. So there's probably some stuff in here. I didn't get a chance to look at it all. Zechariah 12:10 here. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. So that's talking about Dakar. Okay. That's the only one there that was pulled out. But this Zechariah 13:3, and it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, that his father and his mother that begat him shall say unto him, Thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord, and his father and his mother that begat him shall thrust him through when he prophesied. You got parents killing their children who are false prophets. That's how serious that is. All right, 3572, I got written down here. We're just going to run through these real quick and see if they mean anything here. Look at that. John 1934. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith there came out blood and water. I tried to look that up once. The blood and the water. I mean, we know what the blood and the water is. It's a blood baptism or a water baptism. Which one is it? It's blood. And then you got, Perry, we looked at that. And then you got 1574. 1574, just some of the stuff I pulled out here. Also in John 19:37. And again, the scripture saith, They shall look upon him whom they pierced. And this is all part of the decan of Libra, the pierced one, the wounded one. And Revelation 1:7, Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. They also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. So this pierced over here in 1934 is nuso. And it's just one time in the Bible, nuso. And over here is 1574, and it's ekkeneteo. Ek is out, and it comes from kentron, which means to, from kenteo to prick. And I looked at it, I couldn't find that, so that's not in the Hebrew, the Greek dictionary. Kentron, as far as this other one, no, that's not the word. It was another one I couldn't find, but this is kentron, kick at the pricks. All right, and then we got 49, 67, 68, and 69. 9, 67, 9, 68, 49, 69, 68, 67, 68, and 69. Yeah, okay. Acts 8:32, the place of the scripture which he read was this: He was led as a sheep to the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearers, so he opened not his mouth. And this is slaughter, this is sphage. That means slaughter of sheep destined for slaughter. And it's speaking of Christ, and that's the feminine noun. Romans 8:36, as it is written, For thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. You have lived in pleasure, says James 5:5, on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Acts 7:42, then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as is written in the book of the prophets. O ye house of Israel, you have offered me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness. And then they stoned him. That's Stephen. Okay. It's talking about Cain slewing his brother. Sphazo means to slay, kill, or wound. And then Revelation 5:6 again. There's a couple of words in here. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and the four beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it has been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth unto all the earth. And that's 5:6. And then 5:9 we read about 5 times already. Who was slain and has redeemed us to God by our blood. So you got both words here. You got slain and redeemed. You got slain, sphazo, and redeemed, agorazo. Both of them are in that verse. And 5:12. So Revelation 5 is the whole decan, the whole constellation of Libra, saying with a loud voice, "Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches, wisdom, strength." And then I saw that was slain. Okay, wounded to death. Here we go. Revelation 13:8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So he was slain from the foundation of the world. And Adam looked up in the sky, and he taught Seth this verse here that was in the sky, Revelation 13:8. It was taught by Adam to his sons, Seth, Enos, and the rest of them. And there's some good stuff in these books. I'm telling you, man, if you get a chance, pick them up. We're going to continue with this because there's still a lot of words, and we got to get into the crux. We got to get into the cross, and the Southern Cross and all that good stuff. And the corona, we didn't even get to the crown yet, but we know that's what this is all about. You know, him being born of the Virgin, suffering, dying, and rising again, and taking the crown. The suffering Redeemer, the victim slain, and the cross, and then receiving the crown. From the cross to the crown. It's beautiful. And we'll get into it again next week. And I want to say who's here, and Stephen Cook, if you can you pray for us if you want to? Is he still here? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Stephen, can you pray for us?
I ain't really good at it. I'm not really that great at it.
I can't hear you.
I'm not all that great at it. Oh.
But just what if you just whatever comes to your heart, man.
Okay.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, Lord, for the word we had tonight. I pray you let it nourish our souls and give us the knowledge we need to continue on in your word and to lead us in the right direction, Lord. And I thank you for all things, and I pray you fight our battles, and all the battles yours, not ours. Pray you help us be content. And Lord, I pray you strengthen the flock and open doors for the ministry. Pray you lead us to more of that. And I thank you for all things. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Beautiful.
Amen. Amen.
Than that, I love that Louisiana, man. That's beautiful stuff.
Amen.
Yeah. I love watching them shows with the guys from Louisiana, man. The Neurohr, Louisiana. That's good stuff. We have all kinds of dialects around this country, right? You go to Maine, you can't even forget about it. You can't even understand these people talking another language up in Maine. You think they're talking Gaelic or something. And then you got the guys down there in Louisiana. I love that accent. But you guys in Kentucky and Tennessee, come on now. You made that stuff up. That's not a real accent. But this New York dialect, this is where it's at. You know, this is the dialect. This is what you gotta have here. Forget about it.
I thought that was the gutter sound, gutterist sound.
Forget about
Well, I got
The uttereth out of the guttereth.
thank you, God.